Hello and welcome to the Addicts Anonymous podcast. I'm your host, Jim. Today is episode 243, and we're going to be interviewing Tom. How you doing, Tom?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right, hanging in there. So, you ready to do this?
Yeah.
All right, my friend. So let's start off like I always do. Tell me about your childhood and growing up.
Um, Childhood was pretty normal, pretty boring. I mean, not boring, but like that's the boring part of the story. Um, I never wanted for nothing. I was kind of spoiled. Uh, had vacations, had an older brother, 6 years older than me. I kind of had everything laid out for me. So,
What do
I
you
mean,
mean
I
had
wish I
everything?
could,
What
I
do you
wish
mean
I
by
could
had
say,
everything laid out for you?
I wish I could say I had like, the illness ran rampant in my family, but I'm unfortunately the only one with the unlucky disease of alcoholism or addiction or more or whatever you call it. So there was partying. It was like a regular thing. My family would get together and drink, but I was the only one who was kind of obsessed with it and really infatuated with it from a young age, I guess.
What do you mean by infatuated? I mean, I know what the word means, but what do I mean by what were some of the signs and symptoms of that
I noticed
infatuation?
like people would kind of perk up when they were drinking the stuff that the kids weren't allowed to drink, and I was a little curious, like, you know,
You were curious why they were acting differently.
yeah, I wanted to try it too as soon as possible. So, um, up until about like 9 years old, everything was fine. Like, and then my dad split, and my mom started hitting the bottle heavy. And to this day, she says she's not an alcoholic, but and that's up to her to decide. She kind of she kind of turned into a sloppy drunk a little, and I was the one left home. My brother was out partying in his early high school years, age 9, seeing what the illness does to people. She's turned a corner since, but I kind of turned into what you would call a lush right behind her for my own reasons.
What was the first age you ever tried drinking?
It was after my brother's 8th grade graduation party. Um, they rented out a hall in like a Knights of Columbus, and I saw there was like a keg tap, and I started wheezing the juice like Encino Man, and all the parents, my aunts and uncles, they were all appalled that I think I was like 7 or 8 at the time, and I was the one who, out of all my cousins, who was like, "Yeah, let's go see what this is all about." So I put my mouth under a keg tap and I opened it up, and I got yelled at for that. There was there was plenty of other times around that age too when I was, trying to sneak drinks. But
When you did that the first time, did you get drunk?
no,
I'm not sure
no,
how much you drank of it.
no. The first time I got drunk, it took about 3 times for me to actually like indulge like I wanted. And first time I got drunk was probably around 11. Up until then, I was like sipping drinks, just for the taste.
So you actually enjoyed the taste.
Yeah, it was interesting to me. It
Yeah,
was
I was an
different.
alcoholic and I hated the taste.
Yeah, I think my dad poured me a grasshopper. It's like
What's a
mint julep.
grasshopper?
It's like mint julep. It's like a mint flavored liquor. It was around Christmas time when I was like 8 or 9, and he told me to sip it, and I thought it was like the coolest thing in the world. And I guess that caught up to me by the time my early my early teens, because I played in ska bands, and with my older brother, 6 years older, I was already predisposed to like older friends, so I never had problems getting alcohol. But my motives were just like ridiculous by a young age. Like I remember I was playing in bands, and like my whole goal was like to hook up with a girl, to play a music show, and to get drunk in a night. Like there's just those three things, and that would make a great night for me. And that's where my head was at. It wasn't at school, where my grades were. It was just like I was a party animal, and slowly, driving myself into the ground from a very young age.
How'd you do in school?
I could have done a lot better, but I was skating by, just doing the bare minimum. Um, I hated math.
Oh, me too. I hated math with a flaming passion. I I said to myself, I don't know what I'm gonna do when my daughter grows up and she's got like complicated math problems and she's like, Dad, can you help me? And I'll be able to help her.
Yeah, my two kids are just getting into fractions now, and I want to help, but I need to brush up on it. I'm a, I'm not too much of a natural when it comes to that. My son's good with it, my daughter's not.
Yeah, I remember that. I used to get in trouble and I just wouldn't pay attention. I'd be reading a book or something or sleeping. I hated that class. So, did your drinking have anything to do with did it impact your school life?
Yeah, it was kind of around 13 years old. I started getting in all types of trouble. The cops, when you're that young, the cops can't really lock you up. They just give you a warning. But I remember I went over a drummer's house, and I had 4 shots of VO whiskey, which is a little different than drinking 4 Budweisers and getting a buzz on. And I was puking all over the place. I remember he was making out with his girlfriend on the bottom bunk of his bed, and he had bunk beds, and I was on the top bunk, and I started puking all against the wall while they were on the bottom bunk, and I thought it was the funniest thing in the world because I ruined their whole makeout session, and I ended up blacking out. My friend walked me home, and my parents made a missing persons report on me because I didn't come home. I was laid out in my bed. So the next day, after bringing me to the police station and confirming my whereabouts, I had to go to school with an obnoxious hangover. I remember throwing up green in the toilet and going to homeroom, and everybody seemed to be mad at me because I was acting a fool the night before. This was during like a midterms or finals time where we had half days of school, so we just decided to go drink VO whiskey and watch Jerry Springer after our finals, and it got a little out of control.
I
They
remember
were
Jerry
looking for me
Springer.
at basketball practice. Like the cops showed up at basketball practice, and I wasn't there because I was laid out in my bed, and everybody already knew what happened to me. Tommy drank too much last night, so uh, yeah, I just started getting in all types of trouble. Parents started grounding me relentlessly, but I don't know. I guess music carried me through high school. Then I got into
Yeah,
dry goods.
you got what? The
And
dry goods?
yeah, I got into smoking weed every day with my friends after school, which was never really my thing. I like drinking a lot more. But I still did it every day just to fit in, just to go on a ride with my friends and listen to music after school. Sometimes I end up having like panic attacks and stuff. But I thought it was just what everybody did, make it more exciting. And my grades suffered because of it. I was also put on Adderall when I was like 7 or 8 because of grades and my failure to focus.
Wow, that's young.
Yeah. And I stayed on it all through high school. So it got pretty messy.
How so?
I was probably self-medicating before I realized it, like trying to take in uppers that I was prescribed and then trying to, counteract it with booze and then sedatives. And I mean, I never got into like Xanax or anything, but as soon as opiates came around, I mean, I, I wasn't afraid of it, and I was, I picked up, I picked up a habit for a couple of years. I was willing to take anything you threw at me, but Xanax, never really saw the point of it because you couldn't remember the next day.
Yeah, I mean, opiates
So it
also.
got
I used
out of
to,
control by
we're
the time
having
I
a,
graduated high school.
yeah, we're having a connection issue. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
Oh,
you.
there you are. You're back. Um, so, what year did you, not you, I'm sorry. When did you graduate high school?
2005. I ended up
2005.
staying back my senior year due to booze because I used to drink and go to class, like not regularly, but it happened a few times. And I mean, my 8th grade promotion or graduation, I slaughtered like 240s before we went and did that. And I like to this day, I'm still impressed with myself. Like I don't know how I did that because I was so young. And I don't know, it got ugly when I found out I wasn't walking with my graduating class. I got into an argument with my dad and it got physical. The cops were called, and I ended up doing 2 months in county instead of graduating with my graduating class that I grew up with.
What were you
And
charged with?
assault on my dad, and it was all because of booze. Because I was all tuned up, and you know, words started flying, and then I ended up headbutting him, and then I ended up headbutting the cop. But
Oh shit.
I was lucky. I got away with, I was a different person when I was drinking by then. So, and I was just the last to see it.
So alcohol was your favorite drug?
Yeah, it's safe to say. Yeah. I only took opiates so that I would drink more like a gentleman because it would make me nauseous if I got too crazy on opiates. And I don't know if anyone else could relate with that, but I've met a few that can. That's the only reason I ever resorted to like putting a needle in my arm. And Jesus, this is gonna be on YouTube.
Yeah, it's gonna be on YouTube.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. I'm painting a picture My life seems like that movie Train Spotting now. But yeah, after my first jail stint, I put some significant time together. I even quit smoking cigarettes for a little while. About 18 years old. In hindsight, I should have joined the Navy or something at that point. But since then, that was my introduction to the program, and that was 20 years ago. I'm 36 now.
So you started, what were you shooting up painkillers?
That wasn't until I was like 27, but I was sniffing whatever you threw at me, like morphine. My friend's mom was dying of cancer, and I mean, it's not past me. I mean, he stole a few, and we all decided to mess around with it at a friend's house on the weekend, and it felt like you were on a cloud, you know. So that was a different high and a different love altogether. Which sounds disgusting for someone who can't understand it, but it still looks like cupcakes to me. Like
Yeah.
I'm 7 years away from opiates, and if you put it in front of me, I'm like, I don't know, for the life of me, I don't know why, but it still seems appealing because I know where it takes me. It's just, I mean, temporarily until it gets ugly and you're dependent on it.
No, I understand where you're coming from. I used to love painkillers. I used to love OxyContin. Is that what you were taking
Yeah.
mostly?
No, I ended up getting real heroin and getting
Why
a
did
pretty
you
bad
make the switch?
because it was cheaper, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it started when I was in school for HVAC. Me and one of my cousins, um, we started messing with Roxy's, and they were like $30 a pill, which is ridiculous now that I look at it. And I was doing that like 3 times a week, which was starting to add up. So I just decided, why not do the other stuff, you know? I mean, I never sold myself for it, but I wasted a shit ton of money on it. And things got out of control yet again from another substance.
What substance was it this time?
With opiates.
Oh, with the opiates. Okay, I thought you were talking about something else. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's such a dangerous drug. Problem is also it's actually very useful if you're using it for the right reasons. It's a slippery slope with that drug.
I went to a meeting last night. Some guy said, what's the difference between an alcoholic and a non alcoholic? An alcoholic can't drink. And it's as simple as that. Like, can't use, you can't drink. And if people have like an ailment or pain to kill, I guess opiates are the way to go. But like, I don't see how you're not going to abuse it with the way I'm wired. You know, I've come to that acceptance. Like, it's just all or nothing, you know?
Yeah. The one thing I've also noticed from my interviews is a lot of addicts, there's certain things where if it's not their thing, they can do like they don't get addicted. Like there's a guy, Stephen Levine, and he's Noah Levine's father, who's like a Buddhist author, and he used to be a heroin addict, but now he
Noah
quit.
Levine, you
It
talking
was,
about Dharma punks?
yeah, I interviewed
Yeah,
him.
I know what you're talking about. That's a good book.
Yeah, so his dad was a heroin addict, and he says every now and then he'll have like a glass of wine.
Yeah, I
But
could see that.
it's weird. It's And that's the thing about it. It's controversial, and it's everyone's got their own opinion on it.
I mean, maybe I could take a Xanax in like a social situation, but like I'm better off just, it's like, it's not really gonna do that much for me because it's not my thing. You know, I wish I
Yeah.
could have a glass of wine. I'm probably gonna want to drink for the rest of my life, or I know I'm gonna want to drink for the rest of my life. But I'm just old enough where I'm tired, and I got 3 DUIs and lost jobs and girls and friends, and it's just out of control.
How did you lose your girlfriend and your friends? What kind of stuff were you doing? You stealing from them?
Um, I wasn't too much of a thief, I always like thing when I started doing opiates, I was working 3 jobs like immediately, which is amazing. Like I couldn't do that with any other drug. But with alcohol, I mean, yeah, I would tell a girlfriend that I was like buying cigarettes and go buy a fifth or go buy a half pint of vodka or something like that. Just like really skeezy, slimy bullshit, and everybody'd be mad at me over the way I used people. I would end up using people and not even realizing it because I was sick. Like I was the kind of drunk that would sit outside the liquor store before it opens, not even wanting to drink, but knowing that if I don't drink, I'm gonna be sick. You know, that's what I brought myself.
So what?
Shakes and
No, keep going.
yeah, delirium tremors and shakes, and I don't know if I ever had a seizure, but I'm pretty sure I came close. I've been in the countless detoxes. I'm
What
kind of
happens, real quick? What happens when you get the delirium tremens? What actually physically happens to you?
like cold sweats, and it's kind of like just what it sounds like. You're delirious, and your body's kind of like fighting against you. Like it's like the worst hangover you could ever have.
So, at what point in your life did you recognize that you had a problem and that you needed to get better?
Um, a little bit before I got into that altercation with my dad, I had a friend who grew up with my brother, and he invited me to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, and I kind of went out of like just to be polite, not out of curiosity, and I got drunk that night. I mean, I thought it was cool what he was showing me. There was a different walk of life, but like, I mean, that was probably the first signal that something was wrong. And somebody else is like, dude, you don't look so good. Maybe you belong with me in these meetings that I go to. Would you be willing to check it out? And then when I landed myself in jail for the first time, I spent my 18th birthday there, or my 19th birthday there, scared shitless. That was you know irrefutable evidence that I'm a pickle, and probably better off staying away. That was 18, 19 years old. I had already had 1 DUI, I think, by then. Or no, I got pulled over with weed. I got a drug charge. Put my parents through all hell. and LBI.
So how did you actually get sober? What'd you do?
I put like 2 year stints together here and there. I mean, it's been treacherous. It's like, yeah, I had my dad died when I was 25, and I ended up having two kids with this girl I went to high school with, who I was nuts about. But throughout my kids' lives, I was going in and out of jails and institutions and halfway houses. I mean, they never hurt, but I was always hiding something, like smoking weed on the side and considering it not a drug. And I finally got into this after like my fifth or sixth jail stint. I got into this halfway house, which was a sober living house. It wasn't an Oxford house. And by then, that would be my third halfway house, because every time I went to jail, I would end up trying, or a rehab or a detox. I would try to get into a halfway house and separate myself from the illness, because my mom drinks and I live with my mom, 36 years old. But, having it in a house used to be a real trigger for me. Now it doesn't bother me at all. It pretty much is what it is. But I finally got into, every time I got into a halfway house, I put significant amount of time together. And that was until me and my kid's mom split up, because going the back and forth is just too much. We ended on mutual terms. Um, she's with one of my old supervisors now, but this time, because of coming to grips with my reality, it's like I'm finding myself in more like detox settings, like like on the verge of like having a heart attack, or like a you know and crippling anxiety. Like I couldn't even make it through a work day. I'd have to call home. I have to call out sick or go home early, because the DTs were getting too bad. And I ended up going to two detoxes, like one after the other. And like all those rehabs, like Endeavor House, Carrier Clinic. I've been to all of them at least once. But this time I was messing with like all of the above. I was pissed off that my family fell apart, and I checked myself into a detox. I found the greatest sponsor in the world. We used to we used to go to bars together, and it's funny how things end up. But this kid, he doesn't tell me to go, you know, kick rocks. He's patient with me. He's around my age, and he's got more time. He's got great sobriety. Uh, it was suggested that I get into a detox. I check myself into a hospital, tell them I have suicidal ideation, and that worked. I was away for about 3 days, and it turned out that someone I had words with, who I grew up with, one of my childhood friends, ended up hanging himself this last time around. So I was in a detox, 3 days sober, coming out of the fog, and I got a phone call on a payphone letting me know that my best friend had killed himself. And he had his own thing going on. He had his own battle. but I just didn't like the way, things were left. And if I weren't drinking like a savage, maybe I would have been able to see him off a little more appropriately. So it's been easy for me not to drink this time around, doing dry goods and other stuff like that. It's still a struggle. The idea still creeps in my head, but I just got a year sober away from the drink on March 6th. And
Congratulations.
thanks. Yeah, I wouldn't trade it for the world.
So let me ask you one last question. Do you have any advice for people watching and listening?
Be honest with yourself, I guess. And you know yourself better than anyone else. I mean, that's the best advice I could have heard. I mean, it was it was a real it was a real rodeo, being told to do this and do that and taking suggestions from a million different people and finding dead ends and ending up just getting drunk again or getting high again. Um, but the one day at a time, all those slogans mean something. And if you get out of your own way and give yourself a chance, I mean, sky's the limit. It only gets better.
So yeah, I think it's a good place to start wrapping it up. How do you feel? You enjoyed today?
Yeah, this is fun.
Wasn't so bad, right?
No, I was a little nervous, but I think I had to do this.
Yeah, it feels good to tell your story, and it also helps others. So it's a double-edged sword there.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
No problem, my friend. It was a pleasure. Did you have anything else that you want to throw in before we go?
No, buddy.
All right, my friend, sit tight for me. And for everyone watching and listening, if you like what you saw and heard, go below and give us a like. Also, subscribe to see when we upload the videos. You can check us out on all social media. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, TikTok, Instagram, you name it, we're on it. We also suggest checking out the website, which is www.addicts-anonymous.com. There you find plenty of free resources as well as free literature. I also suggest listening for our new upcoming book. We're going to be having that out hopefully by the end of March, beginning of April. So I'll keep you posted as far as that goes. So I hope you enjoyed today. And until next time.